Pine Ridge Resort was 3 hours north of the city, tucked between mountains with views people saved up for. The kind of place you book months in advance and split 5 ways to make it affordable. I paid $960 for my share back in November. My Honda Civic pulled into the parking lot late Friday afternoon, and I could already see my parents unloading their Lexus near the entrance. My brother Derek stood by his F-150, laughing with our mom about something. I raised my hand through the windshield. Nobody waved back. Standard operating procedure for the past 7 years, if anyone was counting. I grabbed my duffel from the back seat and walked toward the lobby entrance, watching through the glass doors as they all disappeared into an elevator with their luggage. Didn't wait for me. Didn't look back to check if I was coming. The front desk agent smiled when I approached, professional and polite, scanning the confirmation email I pulled up on my phone. Then her expression shifted. Not rude, not apologetic, just confused in that way people get when the computer says something different than expected. She scanned it again. "I'm sorry, sir, but this reservation shows as canceled." The words hit different than they should have. "That's not possible. I paid 2 months ago." She tilted the monitor toward me slightly, pointing at a line highlighted in red near the bottom of the screen. "The primary account holder removed you from the booking. Wednesday at 3:47 p.m. My stomach didn't drop from the money. It dropped from the realization. I turned and looked back through the glass doors toward where the elevator had been. They were already upstairs, unpacking, settling into a suite I'd helped pay for. My phone buzzed in my hand. Text from Derek, my brother. "Nothing new for you, Jake. Always the odd one out. Enjoy the drive home." I stared at the screen and read it twice to make sure the words were actually there. The agent shifted her weight from one foot to the other, clearly uncomfortable with whatever family drama she'd just walked into. "Would you like me to check availability for a single room?" I didn't answer her question, just typed 3 words into my phone. "Enjoy your stay." Sent it. Turned around without another word and walked back to my car. Sat in the driver's seat for a solid minute without starting the engine, then reached into the back seat and pulled out my laptop. 7 years ago, my parents needed money for a down payment on their house. $72,000 they didn't have but needed to close escrow. I was 24, fresh into my first real job as a financial analyst, and I'd saved almost everything I earned for 2 years. I gave them the full amount. Got 20% ownership in return, legally documented and notarized with my name on the deed filed at the county recorder's office. That same year, I also set up all their autopay accounts to help them manage bills. Mortgage escrow, utilities, electric, gas, water, internet, Netflix, Spotify, car insurance, all running through my credit card as the primary account manager. Made things easier for them, they said. The family emergency fund sat in a shared savings account with $38,000 in it. I'd deposited $31,000 over the years from bonuses and tax returns. They put in $7,000 total. Then there were the loans I gave out. $8,000 for Derek's DUI lawyer 3 years ago. $5,000 for Dad's truck transmission 2 years back. $8,000 for Mom's dental implants last year. $21,000 total, never repaid. Always the same promise. "We'll get you back next month, we're just tight right now." Next month never arrived. But the midnight phone calls did, asking for help with bills they couldn't cover, asking for money they didn't want to admit they needed, asking me to fix problems quietly so nobody else in the family had to know they were struggling financially. I was the foundation they built their stability on, the safety net they never acknowledged, the backup plan they only remembered when something went wrong. Last birthday, not one of them sent a text. I opened my banking app and logged into the family emergency savings account. Balance: $38,142.67. Transferred all of it to my personal checking account in 3 clicks. New balance: $0, 0 cents. The confirmation email pinged through a few seconds later. Closed the laptop. Started the car, but I didn't head home yet. Drove straight to my parents' house instead. The place was dark and empty, which made sense since they were 3 hours away enjoying a resort suite they'd canceled me from without warning. I used my key to let myself in, walked through the quiet living room, and went straight to Dad's home office in the back. Filing cabinet in the corner, Unlocked like it always was because Dad never thought anyone would go through his stuff. Pulled out the co-ownership deed first. My name was right there in black ink. Jake Reynolds, 20% owner. Took a photo with my phone. Down payment receipt next, showing the $72,000 check with my signature at the bottom. Photo. 3 separate loan agreements for Derek's legal fees, Dad's truck repair, and Mom's dental work, all signed by me, all marked unpaid. Photos. Original house purchase contract, notarized and filed with the county 7 years ago. Photo. Uploaded everything to cloud storage while standing in the dark office, then put every document back exactly where I found it. Didn't take anything physical, didn't move anything out of place, just documentation. If this turned legal, I'd be ready. Walked out, locked the door behind me, and drove back to my apartment on the other side of town. Ordered Chinese takeout and sat at my kitchen table with the laptop open again, eating lo mein straight from the container while the screen glowed in front of me. The family group chat started lighting up with notifications around 8 p.m., but I'd muted it weeks ago after realizing I was the only one who ever asked how anyone else was doing. Derek posted a photo. Luxury suite living room with a stone fireplace crackling in the background, floor-to-ceiling windows showing mountain views, leather furniture that probably cost more than my car, and a balcony hot tub steaming in the evening air. His caption read, "Finally, a peaceful vacation without dead weight dragging us down," followed by a smiling emoji. I took a screenshot and saved it to a folder on my desktop labeled Evidence. Then I started digging into property law. Co-ownership rights, legal remedies for shared real estate, eviction procedures for joint property holders. One section jumped out immediately. A co-owner may file for partition or reclaim occupancy with 72-hour written notice to other occupants. 72 hours. I checked the calendar sitting next to my keyboard. Friday night, almost 9 p.m. If I filed the paperwork Monday morning when the courthouse opened, enforcement would be legal. Thursday at 8 a.m. Pulled up the utility accounts next, scrolling through the autopay list. Mortgage escrow, electric, gas, water, internet, every streaming service they used. My finger hovered over the cancel buttons. Not yet. Monday would be soon enough for that. Leaned back in my chair and looked at Derek's Instagram post still open on my screen. That smug caption about dead weight burning itself into my memory. They thought this was over. Thought I'd drive home quietly, swallow another disappointment, and pretend everything was fine like I always did. They were celebrating right now. Back at the resort, Derek was pouring wine into 3 glasses while my parents unpacked in the master bedroom of the suite. My mom, Linda, 56 years old with graying hair she dyed every 6 weeks, set her suitcase on the bed and sighed. I feel a little guilty about Jake, but this is really nice. My dad, Tom, 58, and retired early on money I helped provide, shrugged while hanging shirts in the closet. He'll understand eventually. He always does. Derek handed them each a glass and leaned against the granite kitchen counter. He didn't even text back. See? He's totally fine with it. Linda took a sip and glanced toward the window. We still could have told him earlier instead of just canceling Wednesday. Why? Derek set his glass down. He would have made it awkward. You know how he gets when he feels left out. Tom nodded while examining the wine label. This trip needed to be just us. Real family time without complications. Derek raised his glass toward the ceiling. To new traditions. They clinked glasses together and drank. Ordered room service half an hour later, steaks and mashed potatoes and chocolate lava cake for dessert, $287 charged to Derek's credit card without any issues. Turned on Netflix and watched some action movie I'd probably seen but couldn't remember. Spotify played soft jazz in the background. Everything worked perfectly because they had no idea what I'd done. Didn't know the emergency fund was sitting at 0. Didn't know I'd photographed every legal document in that filing cabinet. Didn't know I was 3 clicks away from shutting down every utility account they depended on. They thought they'd won some kind of victory by cutting me out. Derek even posted another Instagram story around 10 p.m. 3 wine glasses lined up on the balcony railing with the mountain sunset glowing orange behind them. Caption: To new traditions. Cheers emoji. I sat alone in my apartment with empty takeout containers scattered across the table and my laptop screen casting blue light on the walls. watched them celebrate through their social media posts. My brother's smug captions, my mom's relieved comments, my dad's casual indifference to the whole situation. They thought canceling my reservation was just another disappointment I'd swallow without complaint. Another moment where I'd be the understanding one who never made waves or caused problems. 7 years of being their financial backup plan. 7 years of midnight calls asking for money. 7 years of building the safety net they were currently standing on without ever acknowledging it existed. But they made one critical mistake tonight. They assumed I needed them more than they needed me. By Monday, that safety net would disappear. And when they fell, I wouldn't be there to catch them anymore. Saturday morning hit them different than they expected. Derek woke up around 9, still half asleep from the wine the night before, and grabbed his phone from the nightstand out of habit. Scrolled through notifications, checked Instagram likes, then opened his banking app to see how much damage room service had done to his checking account. The emergency fund showed up first in his account list. Balance: $0, 0 cents. He blinked at the screen and refreshed. Still zero. Opened the transaction history with his thumb starting to shake slightly. One line in red at the top. ACH transfer to J. Reynolds, $38,142.67, completed. Oh my goodness, he said it out loud to the empty bedroom, then practically ran to our parents' suite down the hall. Didn't bother knocking, just opened the door and walked in. Dad was sitting at the small dining table in his bathrobe, drinking coffee and reading something on his iPad. What's wrong? Derek shoved his phone across the table. The emergency account. Jake emptied it. Everything. Mom came out of the bathroom with her hair wrapped in a towel, face going pale when she heard the number. That's our money, for emergencies. He can't just take it. Derek pulled his phone back and scrolled through the account details again like the numbers might change if he looked hard enough. It's in his name. He's the primary account holder. We're just authorized users. Dad tried logging in on his own phone, typing the password they'd used for years. Incorrect password. The screen blinked red. I'd changed it Friday night after transferring the money, which Derek would figure out in about 30 seconds based on the look crossing his face. He typed out a text to me in all caps. Put the money back. Sent it. Waited 10 seconds. No response. Meanwhile, I was sitting in a coffee shop 40 minutes from the resort, eating breakfast and watching my phone light up with notifications I had no intention of answering. The front desk called their suite around 11 a.m. Derek answered, still angry about the money, expecting it to be housekeeping or something simple. Mr. Reynolds, this is Marcus from the front desk. We need to settle the outstanding balance on your reservation. Derek switched the phone to speaker so our parents could hear. What outstanding balance? We paid the deposit. Yes, sir, but the deposit of $960 has been disputed by the cardholder, and we still need to collect payment for the remaining 4 nights. That's $3,840. The silence in the suite lasted about 5 full seconds. Mom looked at Dad. Dad looked at Derek. Derek looked at his phone like it had personally betrayed him. The deposit was disputed? Yes, sir. This morning around 8 a.m. The original cardholder filed a dispute claim with his bank, stating he did not authorize the charge and was removed from the reservation without his knowledge. I'd done that from my laptop while drinking my second cup of coffee, right after Derek sent his angry text. Derek grabbed his wallet and pulled out his credit card. Fine, put the rest on this. Marcus ran the card. I'm sorry, sir, this card was declined. Because Derek had maxed it out 6 months ago and never paid it down, something I knew from the one time he'd asked to borrow money to make the minimum payment. Dad handed over his card next, the one he used for everything. Try this, Marcus ran it. Also declined, sir. Because I'd removed myself as a joint account holder Friday night, which dropped Dad's credit limit to almost nothing since my income was what qualified them for the higher limit in the first place. Mom dug through her purse and found her card, the one connected to her retirement savings account that she only used for emergencies. This one should work. It did. Marcus processed the payment, professional but clearly uncomfortable with how awkward this conversation had become. Thank you, Mrs. Reynolds. Your balance is settled. We don't normally have payment issues with guests in this suite class, so I appreciate your understanding. Derek hung up without saying goodbye. He disputed the deposit. He's actively trying to ruin this trip. Mom sat down on the couch and put her face in her hands. We just spent almost $4,000 we didn't plan on spending. Dad stared out the window at the mountains, jaw tight. This is about more than a vacation. Back at their house, which sat empty and dark 3 hours south, automated systems were starting to fail in ways they wouldn't know about until later. The smart thermostat tried to process the monthly autopay for the premium subscription that let them control it remotely. Autopay declined. Service suspended. Switched to basic mode, which meant no remote access and no automated temperature adjustments. The internet router blinked red in the corner of the living room, trying to authenticate a payment that no longer existed. Security system sent an alert to Mom's email. Payment method failed. System will deactivate in 72 hours. Garage door opener, the fancy kind with the subscription service for smartphone control, timed out after the monthly charge bounced. Subscription expired. Opener defaulted to manual mode only. Their neighbor Sarah, a retired teacher who lived next door and watered their plants when they traveled, noticed the garage door hanging halfway open around noon on Saturday. Sent a text to Mom. "Your garage has been open since last night. Is everything okay?" Mom saw it an hour later and panicked. "Someone needs to go close the garage. What if someone breaks in?" Derek shook his head from where he was sitting at the kitchen counter, still staring at his phone. "I'm not driving 3 hours. We're here until Wednesday." Dad set his coffee cup down harder than necessary. "Call Jake. He still has a key." "After what he did?" "No way." Mom looked between them, then grabbed her phone and tried calling me herself. Straight to voicemail. She didn't leave a message. Sunday morning, I drove back to the resort. Arrived around 10 a.m., parked in the visitor section, and walked into the lobby wearing jeans and a North Face jacket with my backpack slung over one shoulder. Casual, but put together. Derek was coming down the main staircase when he saw me, probably heading to get more coffee from the breakfast area. He stopped halfway down. "What are you doing here?" I walked toward the front desk without looking at him. "Collecting something I left behind." He followed me across the lobby, voice getting louder. "You were never checked in. You don't have anything here." Ignored him. Walked straight to the same front desk agent from Friday, a different woman this time, younger, with her name tag reading Ashley. "Hi, I need to access Suite 304. I'm a co-payer on the reservation and I left personal belongings there." Derek stepped up next to me. "There's nothing of yours in our suite." Pulled out a printed receipt from my jacket pocket, the confirmation email from November with my credit card charge highlighted. "I paid $960 as a deposit. That makes me entitled to access." Ashley looked uncomfortable, glancing between us like she was trying to figure out if this was about to become a scene. "Sirs, I'd rather not get involved in—" The manager from Friday, the one who'd checked me in initially before the cancellation, walked over from his office. "What's the issue here?" I turned to face him, keeping my voice calm. "I paid for this reservation as part of a group booking. He canceled me without refunding my share. I'm here to collect my belongings that I left in the suite." Derek stepped forward. "He's lying. He didn't bring anything. He never checked in." I looked at the manager, not Derek. "Actually, I checked in Friday at 3 p.m. before the official check-in time. Dropped my bag in the suite and went to get dinner in town. When I came back at 4 p.m., I was canceled." The manager pulled up something on the computer at the front desk, scrolling through screens. "It shows a preliminary check-in at 3:04 p.m. under your name, Mr. Reynolds, then a cancellation at 3:47 p.m. Derek's face went red. "That's not—" The manager held up his hand. "He has a legal right to collect property he left in the suite. I'll escort you both." We rode the elevator in complete silence. Derek stared at the floor numbers lighting up. I watched the reflection in the metal doors. The manager stood between us, hands clasped in front of him professionally. Suite 304 was at the end of the hall. The manager knocked once, then used his master key when nobody answered immediately. Mom and Dad were inside, Mom reading on the couch, Dad watching something on the TV. They both looked up when the door opened. Mom's face went confused, then shocked. "Jake, what are you—" I walked past everyone straight to the master bedroom. Not here for a conversation, here for my bag. Opened the closet where I'd left my duffel Friday afternoon, grabbed it from the top shelf and slung it over my shoulder. Dad stood in the bedroom doorway. "You drove 3 hours for a bag?" I turned and pulled an envelope from my backpack, handed it to him. He opened it slowly, unfolding the single page inside, and started reading. His face changed 3 times in 10 seconds. "What is this?" "I own 20% of your house. Read the deed if you need proof. I'm exercising my legal right to reclaim occupancy. You have until Thursday at 8 a.m. to vacate." Mom came into the bedroom, reading over Dad's shoulder. Derek was behind them, finally understanding what was happening. "You can't evict us from our house." I looked at him directly for the first time since arriving. "It's not just yours. I co-own it. Check the contract you signed 7 years ago when I gave you $72,000. You gave me 20% ownership in exchange. I have every legal right to do this." Mom's voice went high and thin. "This is insane. You're doing this because we didn't invite you on a vacation?" "No. I'm doing this because you've treated me like an ATM for 7 years and then threw me away the second it was convenient." Dad held up the paper, hand shaking slightly. "We can fight this in court." "You can try, but I have the deed, the down payment receipt, and a notarized contract all filed with the county. Good luck." I walked out of the bedroom, through the suite, and out into the hallway. Derek followed me to the elevator, practically jogging to keep up. "This is petty." I pressed the down button and waited for the doors to open. "No, petty is texting 'nothing new for you' while I'm standing in a lobby with a canceled reservation. This is consequences." The elevator arrived, stepped inside. Derek stood in the hallway staring at me while the doors closed between us. An hour later, back in their suite, Mom was crying on the couch while Dad paced near the window with his phone pressed to his ear. He'd called Richard, a family friend who practiced real estate law, explained the situation in clipped sentences that kept getting interrupted by questions. "If he's on the deed as a co-owner and gave you written notice, he has legal standing. You'd need to buy him out or negotiate some kind of agreement." Dad stopped pacing. "How much would a buyout cost?" "His 20% ownership is worth about $70,000 at current market value, maybe more if he argues appreciation." "We don't have $70,000. He took our savings." "That was legally his money if his name was on the account as primary holder." Derek grabbed the phone. "So we just let him kick us out? There's nothing we can do?" Richard's voice came through the speaker, tired and professional. "You can contest it in court, but that process takes months and costs money you don't have. In the meantime, if he gets a court order, you'll have to vacate by Thursday." Mom looked up from the couch, mascara running down her face. "We have nowhere to go. Derek's apartment is too small. We can't afford a hotel long-term." Dad hung up without saying goodbye to Richard. They sat in silence in their luxury suite, mountain views and gas fireplace and balcony hot tub all around them, vacation completely ruined. I sat in my car in the resort parking lot, engine running, watching their suite window from 3 floors below. 3 people who'd just realized they weren't in control anymore. Didn't feel victorious watching them panic. Didn't feel vindicated seeing them scramble. Felt cold and clear. They had 72 hours to figure out where they were going to live. I'd given them 7 years of my life, my money, and my time. Seemed fair. Started the car and drove home, leaving them to their ruined vacation and their impossible deadline. The safety net was gone, and I wasn't there to catch them anymore. They cut their vacation short Monday morning, loaded their suitcases into the Lexus and Derek's truck before sunrise, didn't bother with breakfast, just checked out early and drove 3 hours back to the city in complete silence. Stopped at Richard's law office first, the family friend who practiced real estate law, before even going home. His office was in one of those converted historic buildings downtown with exposed brick and expensive furniture that screamed hourly rates they couldn't afford. Richard reviewed the paperwork I'd left them Sunday, spreading the eviction notice across his mahogany desk and reading it twice. "This is ironclad. He has legitimate co-ownership rights filed with the county." Dad leaned forward in his chair. "Can we stop the eviction? Get an injunction or something?" Richard shook his head slowly. "Only if you can get a restraining order, which requires proof of immediate harm or threat." or you negotiate a buyout, which requires capital you don't have. Mom twisted her wedding ring around her finger, something she did when stressed. We'll pay him back, everything he's owed. We just need time. He'd have to agree to a payment plan, and given what you've told me about the situation, I don't think he's in a negotiating mood. Derek stood up and walked to the window overlooking the street below. So that's it? He just wins? We lose our house? Richard closed the folder and looked at all three of them. This isn't about winning or losing. This is property law. He's a co-owner exercising his legal rights to reclaim occupancy. You signed a contract 7 years ago that gave him those rights. They left the office 20 minutes later with a bill for $250 they couldn't afford and zero solutions. Arrived home around 6 p.m. Monday evening, exhausted and desperate. The garage door wouldn't open when Dad pressed the button on the visor. Battery must be drained. Derek tried his remote. Nothing. They used the front door instead, Dad's key turning in the lock like it always did, walking into a house that felt wrong the second they stepped inside. Cold. Dark. Silent in a way that wasn't normal. The thermostat screen was black. Derek went to the basement and manually restarted the furnace, hearing it kick on with a reluctant groan after sitting idle all weekend. Dad called the utility company from the kitchen, put them on speaker while they waited on hold for 12 minutes. I need to set up a new account at this address. The representative typed something on her end. It shows this address had an account under Jake Reynolds until Friday evening when it was closed. Did he authorize you to open a new account? Dad's jaw tightened. He's my son. Yes. Okay, sir, we can open a new account in your name. There's a $150 setup fee and first month's payment due up front before we can activate service. Dad gave them his credit card number, the same one that had been declined at the resort, which apparently still had just enough limit left for utility deposits. Mom tried turning on the TV to distract herself while they waited for the internet to come back online. Account no longer active. Please visit netflix.com to renew your subscription. She closed her eyes and sat down on the couch. He canceled everything, all of it. Derek slammed a cabinet in the kitchen hard enough that the dishes rattled. This is psychotic. Who does this to their own family? Dad looked at him from across the room, voice flat and tired. No, this is what happens when you push someone too far for too long. They spent Monday night in a cold house with no internet, eating takeout by lamplight because half the light switches weren't working right after the power interruption. Tuesday passed in a blur of phone calls and rejected apartment applications. Wednesday morning arrived with 48 hours gone and nowhere to go. Derek's apartment was one bedroom on the 4th floor of a building without an elevator, barely big enough for him, and definitely not big enough for 3 people and all their belongings. Hotels were $120 per night, which meant $3,600 a month they didn't have. Rental houses needed first month, last month, and security deposit up front, usually around $4,500 total, sitting in an emergency fund that no longer existed. Mom's sister lived in Ohio, had a spare bedroom, kept offering to let them stay for a while. But that meant leaving the state and admitting defeat to extended family who'd spent years hearing about how well they were doing. Wednesday around 5 p.m., Dad drove to my office. Parked in the lot where he could see the main entrance, waited in his car with the engine off despite the cold. I walked out at 5:15 like always, saw his Lexus 3 spaces from mine. He got out when I was halfway across the parking lot. Please, just tell me what you want. I stopped walking and looked at him. I want you to understand what it feels like to be expendable. You're not expendable. You're family. Then why didn't you text me before canceling my reservation? Why didn't anyone think to give me a heads up before I drove 3 hours and stood in that lobby? Dad's shoulders sagged. That was Derek's decision. He handled the booking. And you went along with it, like you always go along with it. Like you went along with borrowing $21,000 and never paying it back. Like you went along with using me as your emergency fund for 7 years without ever saying thank you. We'll pay you back, everything. The $72,000 from the house, the loans, all of it. Just give us time. I pulled my keys from my jacket pocket. With what money? The emergency fund I built? Oh wait, that's gone. Maybe Derek's maxed out credit cards? Or Mom's retirement account that just paid for a resort suite? Dad took a step forward, hands out like he was trying to calm a spooked animal. I'm sorry. I should have stopped Derek. I should have called you before the cancellation went through. Yeah, you should have. But you didn't. It's not too late. We can fix this. Actually, it is too late. Thursday morning at 8 a.m. you're out. That's what the notice said. That's what's happening. Got in my car, started the engine, and backed out while Dad stood there in the parking lot watching me leave. Drove home and didn't think about him standing there alone in the cold. Thursday morning arrived cold and clear. 7:50 a.m. I pulled up to the house I'd helped buy 7 years ago and parked on the street instead of the driveway. The locksmith's van was already there, white with blue lettering, the guy standing on the porch with his toolbox waiting for me. His name was Mike, late 40s, professional and unbothered by whatever family drama he was walking into. You Jake? Yeah. Got the work order and court paperwork. We're good to go whenever you're ready. The front door opened before I could respond. Dad stood there in jeans and a sweater, face exhausted from 3 nights of bad sleep and worse stress. Can we help you? Mike held up his clipboard. Work order to change the locks. Property owner Jake Reynolds requested service. We're still packing. We need a few more hours. Mike showed him the paperwork, the court order with the official stamp and case number. Eviction notice was filed Monday. 72 hours expired at 8 a.m. this morning. I have authorization to proceed. Derek came out from behind Dad, still holding a coffee mug. You can't do this while we're still inside. Mike shrugged, completely unfazed. Then you folks need to step outside. I'm on a schedule and I've got 3 more jobs today. I walked up the driveway with a folder under my arm, stepped onto the porch I'd helped pay for. Mom appeared in the doorway behind Derek, face red and puffy from crying. Jake, please don't do this. We'll leave. Just give us until tonight to find somewhere to go. The notice said 8 a.m. Thursday. It's 8 a.m. Thursday. Derek set his mug down on the porch railing hard enough that coffee sloshed over the side. You're really going to humiliate us in front of the neighbors? Make a scene out of this? You humiliated me in front of a resort lobby full of strangers. We're even. Mike pulled out his drill, loaded a bit, and started on the front door deadbolt. The sound was loud, mechanical, final. Metal on metal, high-pitched, and impossible to ignore. Across the street, their neighbor Carol came out to get her mail, stopped, and stared. 2 houses down, someone's curtains moved. Dad's voice went quiet. We'll fight this in court. Sue you for everything. I pulled another folder from under my arm and handed it to him. Partition lawsuit, already filed Tuesday morning. You'll be served next week by a process server. Mom grabbed the folder from Dad's hands and opened it, scanning the first page. What does this mean? Means the court forces a sale of the house. We split the proceeds based on ownership percentage. You get 80%. I get 20% plus interest plus my unpaid loans with 7 years of interest calculated at state rates. Dad stared at me like he was seeing someone he didn't recognize. You'd force us to sell our house? Where we've lived for 7 years? You forced me off a vacation I paid $960 for without even a text message. Seems proportional. Mike finished drilling out the deadbolt, moved to the handle. 15 minutes of work that sounded like the end of something. Handed me 3 new keys when he was done, shiny brass that caught the morning sun. Pocketed all 3. Mike packed his tools and looked at my parents and Derek still standing on the porch. You folks need to remove your belongings by end of business today, or they're considered abandoned property under state law. Derek pulled out his phone, fingers shaking with rage or fear or both. This is illegal. I'm calling the police. I looked at him. Go ahead. I have the deed right here. He actually did it. Dialed 911, explained the situation in clipped angry sentences to the dispatcher. A patrol car pulled up 10 minutes later, officer in his 40s getting out slowly like he already knew this was going to be a waste of time. What's the issue here? Derek pointed at me. He's illegally evicting us from our house. The officer walked over to me, polite but tired. Can I see some identification and property documentation? Handed him my driver's license, the deed with my name on it, the eviction notice filed Monday with the court stamp, the original co-ownership contract from 7 years ago. He read through everything carefully, taking his time, handed it all back. This is a civil property dispute. He's listed as a co-owner on the deed. You'll need to resolve this through the court system. Turn to my parents and Derek. You folks need to vacate the property. He has legal standing. Mom broke down, actually sobbing, stumbling off the porch and sitting on the ground near the driveway. Derek helped her up, got her to the Lexus, loaded their suitcases that had been sitting by the front door into the trunk. Dad stood on the porch for another minute, looking at me one last time. You were my son. No, I was your ATM. There's a difference. He walked to his car and drove away. Derek's truck followed 2 minutes later. The officer waited until they were gone, then looked at me. You need anything else from me? No, sir. Thank you. He left. I stood alone on the porch, new keys heavy in my pocket. Walked inside the house that was now entirely mine. Family photos still hung on the walls. Their furniture filled every room. The kitchen smelled like the coffee Derek had been drinking. But it was quiet. No phone calls asking for money at midnight. No last-minute cancellations of plans I'd already committed to. No one treating me like furniture that only mattered when they needed to lean on something. My phone buzzed. Text from Derek. You destroyed this family. Typed back. No. I revealed what it always was. Deleted his contact, blocked the number. Sat down on the couch and listened to the silence. The foundation they'd been standing on for 7 years had walked away. And I wasn't sorry. Not even a little bit. 2 weeks after the lockout, my phone rang from a number I didn't recognize. Answered it anyway, curious who'd managed to get past my new screening habits. Mr. Reynolds, this is Martin Chen with Chen & Associates. I represent your parents and brother in the property dispute matter. Their lawyer? I'm listening. My clients would like to negotiate a buyout of your ownership stake rather than proceed with the partition lawsuit. I leaned back in my office chair and looked out the window at the parking lot below. What are they offering? They're prepared to offer $55,000 for your 20% stake in the property. Did the math in my head automatically, financial analyst training kicking in? The house is worth $360,000 according to the county assessor. 20% is $72,000, plus $21,000 in unpaid loans over 7 years with state interest rates. Total comes to $93,000. Martin paused, probably looking at notes his clients had given him. They don't have that kind of liquidity available right now. Then they can refinance the mortgage and pull equity. Or we proceed with the partition lawsuit and force a court-ordered sale. Either way works for me. Mr. Reynolds, forcing a sale benefits no one. Legal fees alone would eat up. It benefits me. I get my share either way. They're the ones scrambling for housing while living in a hotel they can't afford. Silence on the other end for 3 seconds. Let me discuss this with my clients and get back to you. You have until Friday. After that, the offer goes up by $500 per day for making me wait. Hung up before he could respond. 3 days passed without hearing from Martin. Then my phone buzzed with a text from an unfamiliar number, area code from 2 counties over. We need more time. Dad had to take out a personal loan just to cover the hotel bill. Can you give us 60 days? Derek, texting from a new number after I'd blocked his old one. Deleted it without responding. Next day, another unknown number. Please, Jake, we're staying in a motel off the highway. Just give us 6 months to get back on our feet. Mom, texting from her sister's phone based on the Ohio area code. Typed back, you gave me 6 minutes of notice before boarding that resort. I'm giving you 6 weeks to figure it out. That's more than fair. Blocked the number. Week later, Dad showed up at my office parking lot again. Same spot as before, same Lexus that looked like it needed a wash, same desperate energy radiating off him when I walked out at 5:15. We'll pay you, $70,000. We got approved for a refinance. Stopped next to my car, keys already in my hand. $72,000 plus the $21,000 in loans. $93 total. Non-negotiable. We can't get approved for that much with our credit scores after missing payments. The bank said 70 is the max. That's not my problem. You had 7 years to pay me back before any of this started. He stepped closer, desperation making him bold. So that's it? You're really going to force us to sell the house? Make us homeless? If that's what it takes to get what I'm legally owed. Yes. Got in my car, started the engine, and backed out while he stood there watching. Didn't look in the rearview mirror. Month later, I took a week off work. Booked the same resort, same suite 304, same dates as the original trip that got canceled. Drove up Friday afternoon with my duffel in the passenger seat, music playing. No stress about who was meeting me there or who might cancel at the last minute. The front desk agent smiled when I walked in. "Welcome back, Mr. Reynolds. We've upgraded you to the premium balcony view at no additional charge." The manager appeared from the back office, same guy who'd escorted me upstairs to collect my bag. "Good to see you again. I hope this stay is more enjoyable than the last one." "Already is." Suite 304 looked exactly like it did in Derek's Instagram photos from that first night. Stone fireplace, floor-to-ceiling windows, leather furniture, balcony hot tub steaming in the mountain air. Unpacked slowly, took my time, opened a beer, and sat on the balcony watching the sunset turn the mountains orange and purple. Pulled out my phone and opened Instagram. Changed my account from private to public. Took a photo of the view, hot tub in the foreground, mountains in the background, beer bottle on the railing. Caption: "Sometimes you have to cancel the wrong people to confirm the right reservations." Posted it. Didn't tag anyone, didn't need to. 2 hours later, my phone buzzed with a notification. Derek's best friend Marcus had liked the post. Then his girlfriend's roommate. Then 3 people from Derek's gym. Word traveled fast in small social circles. Over the next week, I posted casually. Day 2, breakfast on the balcony with coffee and pastries from the resort restaurant. No one to split the bill with. Day 3, hiking trail selfie with mountain peaks behind me. Peaceful when no one cancels your plans. Day 4, dinner table with a steak and wine. Table for one, just how I like it. Passive-aggressive? Probably. Effective? Absolutely. Derek's girlfriend Sarah, who I'd met twice at family dinners years ago, apparently saw the posts. Texted Derek according to a mutual friend who told me the story later. "Why is your brother posting cryptic stuff about you guys?" Derek tried playing it off as complicated family drama, nothing serious. Sarah did what any curious girlfriend would do and asked around, talked to mutual friends, heard about the resort cancellation and the eviction and the lawsuit. Confronted Derek 3 days later. "You evicted your parents? Over a vacation?" "He evicted us. It's his fault for overreacting." "You canceled his trip without telling him?" I saw the text screenshot. "Nothing new for you?" "Who showed you that?" "Doesn't matter. That's cruel, Derek. That's not the person you told me you were." Week later, Sarah broke up with him. Derek texted me from yet another new number. "You cost me my relationship." Replied before blocking, "No, you did that yourself." 6 weeks after the lockout, Martin the lawyer called again. "My clients have agreed to settle. $68,000 for the buyout, plus $15,000 for the loans. $83,000 total. Accepted, draft the paperwork." They refinanced the house, pulled equity, cleaned out my old bedroom that had been storage for years, and mailed me a cashier's check. Deposited it without calling to confirm receipt. Parents sent one final text from Dad's phone. "We hope you're happy now." Stared at it for 30 seconds. Typed, "I am." Sent it. Blocked the number. 3 months later, I ran into Sarah Miller at the grocery store. Different Sarah, the neighbor who used to live 2 houses down before she moved across town, not Derek's ex-girlfriend. She was loading groceries into her trunk when she saw me. "Jake, haven't seen you in forever. How are you?" "Good. You?" "Can't complain." "Hey, weird question, but your parents ask about you sometimes when I see them at church." I stopped pushing my cart. "What do they say?" "They want to know if you'll ever come back, like reconcile or whatever." "What did you tell them?" Sarah shifted her weight, uncomfortable with being in the middle. "I said I'd ask if I ever saw you." "Tell them no." "That's pretty final." "It is." She nodded slowly, reading something in my face that told her not to push. "Okay, take care, Jake." "You too." Drove home and didn't think about it again. 6 months after the lockout, I got a LinkedIn message. From Derek. He'd moved to Arizona for work apparently, new job in Phoenix, Fresh start, away from the city where everyone knew what had happened. The message was 3 paragraphs long. Said he understood now why I did what I did. Said he was sorry for how things went down. Said family should mean more than money, and maybe we could talk sometime. Read it twice. Then deleted it without responding. Because he still didn't get it. This was never about the money. It was about being treated like I mattered, like I was part of the family instead of just the bank they borrowed from when things got tight. The moment they canceled my reservation without a word, they showed me exactly what I was worth to them. Nothing. So I canceled them back. Permanently. People ask sometimes if I'm lonely now. Friends who knew my family, co-workers who heard pieces of the story, dates who wonder why I never mention parents or siblings. I tell them no. Loneliness is sitting in a car watching your family board a plane without looking back, being called at 2 a.m. for money but never getting a birthday text, building a safety net for 7 years and having them cut you out the second it was convenient. Freedom is realizing you don't need them, knowing that the only person who can cancel your plans now is you. And I sleep just fine with that.